web design is an applied art, which means like all applied arts, you are making art that is being used, that's being consumed, right? So graphic design, animation, photography, depending. Those are all applied arts because they are art that you make for someone for money. Now, as such, when you are doing applied arts, production process is very important because what you want to be able to do, and I say this in all my classes, you want to make the tastiest burgers and you want to make them cheap and fast. You need consistency. So it's very important. Your production process may vary, from time to time. Hopefully it adapts and evolves with, current trends, and you get better. But you want to make sure that you have some sort of production process. It's something you'll sort of develop as you go, kind of like style, right? You a lot of times you're very generic, but then as time progresses, you'll find more of a niche that you fit into. Okay, so that being said, before you start production, usually you want to do is ask about what the purpose or objective of the site is. Like, why are we making this? What is the purpose of it? Is it a PSA? Is it a marketing? Is it for is it a storefront, right? Is it a contact page? I mean, it could be any number of things. Okay, so what is the purpose of it? Who is the target audience? That in a lot of ways could actually be the main factor, right? So if the target audience is going to be teenagers, right, you want to make something that's hip and cool, right, that's flashy, that's not Sigma, no cap, whatever, I don't know. The slang these days are really bad. Anyway, yeah, you want to make it kind of make sense for them. Also, if you're making a website and it's going to be like a bank and there's going to be a lot of, or like a retirement home, let's say, there's going to be a lot of older people on the site, you're going to want to probably make it more directed towards a computer, right? Because they're going to be more likely to use a computer or a tablet. So you might want to think about it being more landscape. But if it's a site and it's for kids, right, you probably want to make it more portrait because they're more than likely going to visit the site on their phone. So it really changes a lot of, theoretically, I make the site work for both, but you might want to direct it more one way or the other. And then, think about the content. So what kind of content are you displaying? Is it going to be a lot of text, right? So again, if it was like a bank site, you probably want to use a lot of text. Are there going to be a lot of images? Typically, you do want to use a lot of images. More images, the better. Are you going to need to have other sort of media in there, such as videos and audio or interactive components, right? All that makes a big difference with the site itself, okay? After you have that, you get that information. Generally speaking, you should be able to get that from the client themselves, or if you are the client, I'm the client in this course. But after you get that information, then what you want to do is try to make a wireframe or mock-up. So a wireframe is basically, and it's something you just do on a piece of paper in front of a client, you just draw out what the layout's going to be. So for example, this is sort of like a wireframe. Usually you'll see the lines, the boxed lines. But basically, you just box out where the different elements are going to be. Another thing that's also useful when you do your wireframe is you might just make a mock-up of it where you will actually put in just like stock images and like lorem ipsum text, which is just dummy text in it. And that way you can show that to the client, and they'll get a better idea of what you're going for. When you just show boxes, they might not necessarily. Wireframe, if you're drawing it out in boxes, is useful if you're in person. But So typically that's what you'll do is you'll make some sort of wireframe just by hand, pictures, Photoshop, however you want to do it. And then after you have the wireframe, what you do is you can often just make the shell of the site. So what that means is that you'll make the web page, but you'll just have stand-in stuff, but it'll actually be as a web page written in HTML and CSS, but it doesn't have any of the finalized content. It just has stand-in things, just to make sure that it's working and that everything functions the way that you want it to. Try to make it as close as you can to what the final outcome is going to be, but this way you have it functionally working, because for the most part, you're probably not going to be making the content, right? They'll probably have a marketing person or the store owner themselves be like, oh, this is our write-up. Here's the description of our store. Here are our products. Here's all the photos of our products. You're not necessarily going to be making the content. You're just going to be kind of laying it out. You might have to make some content, And this is one of those things, if you're a graphic designer or a photographer, you can utilize the skills you already have and you can kind of double charge them. I don't know why I keep doing air quotes. So yeah, that's what you would do. Try to do a mock-up, and then once you can show that to the client, be like, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and you can even make it live, but only give them a link to it, so it's not live to everyone, and have a site kind of laid out. Be like, what do you think? And then if you get to go ahead, you can do a little back and forth. Then once they give you the final images, you can put everything in there, and then you'll have the final site. And then the very last thing you need to do is either upload it or publish it on the internet, so that everyone can view it, right? And from there, there'd be another input in there, another step of trying to make it higher in the SEO, the search engine optimization. You want it to come up. If people are searching for things, you want that to be a prominent aspect of it, and that's a whole subject in and of itself. But that's the kind of general layout of what you want to work. Whatever you're doing, no matter this or whatever, it's always good to start broad, big strokes that you can do quickly to get commentary, and then become more and more detailed and tighter and tighter and more specific. Okay.